Hello, my fabulous artists. So I am here. I have completed my kindness monster, and remember we colored that in with oil pastels. When we were working with the oil pastels, we learned about blending colors together and mixing two colors or even more together. So once you have finished coloring with oil pastels, that kindness monster, it's time to get to the background. So I'm going to set that aside, and you can see I've already started on my background. So let me explain to you the process. I started out with a white piece of paper, and I took a big Papa Bear paintbrush and I painted my entire paper with yellow paint. I then took one of our scrapers and I pulled the scraper through the paint while it was still wet, and it created this awesome pattern. If you look closely, you can see where that scraper kind of scraped that paint off. That's why it's called a scraper. Then what I did, even while that paint was still wet, I went over to the supply table. I put a little bit of paint in one of these clear containers, and I chose this to do my stamping. What you're going to do is you're going to paint your entire paper, and then you are going to stamp a pattern over the whole paper on top of that paint. Now, you have got a lot of choices, and let me just show you just one of my bins that you can choose from. I have things like cups that with this cup, what you would do is you would dip that cup into the paint and then stamp or print the circles right on here. I've got Legos. Those Legos, remember, you can dip right into the paint and then stamp or print. I've got forks. You can dip this into the paint and then stamp. I've got lids. There are all kinds of fun things. I've got spools. There are lots of things in here that will create a pattern on top of your painted paper. Now, let me just show you. I want to demonstrate how I created these awesome circles. Well, I started with this piece of foam, and what I've done is I've dipped it in the paint, and then I kind of stamp over to the side to get a little bit of that excess paint off. I come over, I print straight up and down, and I can usually get about 2 of those stamps before I have to get more paint. And also notice how I've gone all along the sides of my paper and in the middle, because we are creating this whole thing for our monsters. When I'm finished, I'm going to take this over to the sink. I'm going to clean it off completely and put it back where I found it. Now, these clear plastic containers, you know, can go right into the garbage, so we don't need those. The next step is I'm going to get my scissors, because the next step is cutting out our monsters, and we're going to glue our monster right down in the middle of this painted paper. So I wanted to take just a second to talk to you about cutting. I know you all know how to cut, but make sure you're holding those scissors correctly, and I want you to cut right along the black edges. You don't want to cut the black edges off. You just want to cut right along those. You want to take your time moving that paper in a direction that you need to move to be able to cut that out properly. You're going to notice when I am finished cutting this monster out, there's going to be no white paper showing. I don't want white paper on any of the edges. If you are cutting right along those black lines, you are going to see, let me just show you really quickly, there is no white paper showing. All right, so make sure you're doing that. I'm going to go ahead and cut the entire monster out. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to use a glue stick. I'm going to cover the entire back with glue stick, and then I am going to glue my monster right in the center of this painted paper that I have created. Don't forget, it has to have your name and room number on the back. And I want to go over this one last time. You're going to paint the entire paper with one color. If you'd like to scrape through it, you can. Then you are going to select something to print or stamp on the back to create a pattern. I cannot wait to see these awesome kindness monsters.